you have standards, you have personal standards, right? Don't pee in the pool, right? The pool is your project. The water you're sitting in is your code. If you're like me, you're very terribly siloed and your project is amazing and all the code you write is absolutely brilliant because it's your code and you're the only person who reads it and you're the only person who writes it and you don't really care about anyone else. Suddenly somebody else wants to come and sit in your pool and they look in and they think, well, I'm not sure I want to get in there with you, and you're busy splashing about, and it makes you think, well, wait a second, maybe I should implement some standards, you know? So this is where this talk's come from. So why use a standard, right? This is the first thing we kind of come across. As I've mentioned, silos really suck. Nobody likes to be siloed. It helps collaboration, right? Because you can work with other people. People read your code. You can read it. We use pattern matching a lot of the time. You can look at a script, like a controller with methods in or actions or whatever, right? You get an idea of what that's going to do. If the braces are all the wrong thing, or for heaven forbid you use shorthand if statements, or don't put braces in or something, you start to see that. It makes it more difficult. You have to process that. So the readability is there. Easier to share. If you're doing open source projects, they're going to have coding standards. So like getting this stuff under your belt makes your open source contributions, your pull requests are going to be merged so much quicker because people can process your code so much easier. Consistent diffs. As long as you're not rewriting white space or anything on your things. It means that when you're looking at code changes, you don't have formatting changes. You don't have people, moving braces around. So when you're looking at a diff, you can see exactly what functionality has changed. You're not looking at formatting changes. So it makes processing stuff a lot easier and getting through stuff easier. So that's why I reckon we should use a standard. Which should you pick? These are the two I think you should pick. Pick the one that your framework uses if you're using one, or use PSR2. Right? If you're like me and I use CakePHP, that extends PSR2. You can write your own standard. I would recommend basing one off PSR2. If like me, you hate PHP4's convention of an underscore before private methods, yeah, you can get rid of that. So use your framework standard or use PSR2. There's a link there where you can read about the standard. How do you enforce these standards, right? So we've got PHP-CS, which is the code sniffer. That will take this standard you've defined and look at your code and tell you what's good and not. You've got PHP-CVF. We'll fix that stuff for you automatically. Right, we're lazy people, we like to automate. Let's not fix stuff ourselves, let's just write a tool which does that for us. There you go, job done. Doesn't do everything for you, fair enough. It will do most things for you though. And then if you're really sadistic and you really want to get tough with your code, you've got PHPMD there. I've put the composer command. The PHP-CS code sniffer package includes CVF and CS, so you get both tools in one there. PHPMD will be a little bit stricter, it absolutely hates else in an if statement. It's a bit opinionated. There's even a controversial rule set if you really want to get into it. So this is it, this is me running it. So you can check your code. I've just run PHP-CS. I'm passing in a standard, so CakePHP's got a standard, so I'm just passing that in saying here's the standard rather than copying it in. That's the output I get. You can see I've got a missing parameter comment and a function return type is void, but a function has no return statement. I should qualify that I've made those errors. My code is obviously perfect. So that's what it will look like. Here you can see a fixable error, so you can see the square braces, the little X in, that's just PHP-CVF saying, hey, don't worry about this, I can fix it for you. So you can literally just run PHP-CVF, I'm passing the standard into my file again, and you can see there it uses the tokenizer, fixes the error, and just goes, hey, I'm done. And that's it. So I've now fixed all my PHP-CS, which is great. PHP Storm integration. We're really lazy. I'm not going to run a command line for every file in my project. That's just ridiculous. And I'm also not going to just run it against my /source folder and get an output which just goes from my entire terminal and fills up the stuff that I'm not going to read, right? So we can integrate it into PHP Storm, and this will underline stuff in your IDE as you're working. If you're using NetBeans, it does this stuff. You just have to figure out how to do it. So here I can go into languages. It's got Code Sniffer. I just point it to where I've installed it. I use the global composer one because I find it easier. So that's that set up, so it now knows you've got that. In your inspections, you get PHP Code Sniffer. Is it clear enough? Yeah, so you can tick that. And then in the bottom right-hand corner of that image, I've got Coding Standard Custom. So I just point that to that global composer where my PHP standard is. And that's it. And I've put show sniff name on there, so that when you get it up, when you hover over it, you can see here, like the top one there is a PSR2 violation, and the other one is a CakePHP one, because the CakePHP extends PSR2. You get everything's in PSR2, and you get your own standards as well. Oh, nearly made it. So that's PHP Storm integration. Finally, last thing, commit hooks. James helped me out with this today, actually, on IRC. That's how prepared I was. So you can have a git commit hook, so when you try and commit your code, it will run PHP-CS and just goes, actually stop. So you can have all this stuff in your IDE, but you can also prevent stuff getting into your repository. So I've committed a repository which I'm starting to collaborate on with a friend, with a colleague at work now, and I've implemented that and pushed it to the repo. I haven't told him. So it's going to be interesting to see when he tries to commit code if he hasn't PHP-CS, because he won't be able to push anything to the repo. So I'm looking forward to that conversation tomorrow. And that's it. That's my lightning talk. Quick 5 minutes. Thanks very much. I don't know if you've got any questions or not. We should just move straight on.
You can have questions if you like.
If there are any. Good. Very comprehensive talk. That's what we like. Smashing. Thanks very much, guys.